Brazil, the country of the future. All of these comparisons have been presented on the American Reality Channel on YouTube, with the sources being provided that all are true. In Brazil, there is something called the basic basket. This basic basket would be the basic foods that a family would need to live. The basic basket consists of meat, beans, rice, flour, milk, potatoes, tomatoes, bread, coffee, bananas, sugar, oil, and butter. The basic basket in Sao Paulo costs about 360 reais, or $160, about half the minimum wage. That's right, the Brazilian minimum wage is equivalent to $300 a month, while the minimum wage in the United States is about $1,280 per month, or the equivalent of $8 per hour. It is necessary to use half the minimum wage to buy food. What about housing, health, education, and the other basic needs? Buying the same products of the basic basket in the United States, same quantities, requires only about 9% of the minimum wage. How to live with a minimum wage of $300 a month in Brazil? Do you know how much it costs to rent a house or apartment in Brazil? If you want to rent a one-bedroom apartment in a large city, you will pay approximately 1,000 to 1,200 reais, or almost 2 minimum wages. Okay, you can rent in a small and distant city for about half this value, but you need to drive in order to get around. Yep, a car. You've probably heard how expensive cars are in Brazil, right? The same new Ford Focus in the United States costs about $17,000, equal to about 13 minimum wages. In Brazil, the same car would cost 65,000 reais, or 90 minimum wages. You cannot afford a new car in Brazil. How about a motorcycle? A Honda CBR 250R in the United States costs about $4,199, or the equivalent of 3 minimum wages. And the same motorcycle in Brazil, about 19,000 reais, or the equivalent of 26 minimum wages. In Brazil, there is a tax called the IPVA, which is the amount you would pay to the government for owning a car. It is calculated based on the value of the car. For comparison, on the channel, we use the 2006 PT Cruiser. Its IPVA in Brazil is 1,400 reais, or 2 minimum wages, while in the United States, the cost would be $42, or about 3% of the minimum wage, for any car up to 4,000 pounds. But to drive, we need a driver's license, right? In the United States, a driver's license costs about $36, which is equivalent to about 2.8% of the minimum wage. In Brazil, we need at least 1,200 reais, almost 2 minimum wages. Amazing, isn't it? Better to stay at home. But to send this video to YouTube, I need the internet. How much does the internet cost in Brazil? While in the United States, internet access costs about $29.90 per month for 20 megabytes, or the equivalent of about 2% of the minimum wage. And you actually get the speed that you contracted. In Brazil, the same access costs about 180 reais, or 25% of the minimum wage. But here is a shocker. In Brazil, there is a law that allows internet service providers at least 30% of the contracted speed. In other words, you pay for 20 megabytes, but you only receive 6 megabytes. That law, until last year, was 10% of the contracted speed. We could spend hours and hours here showing how Brazil became an unfair country, a country where people get less money but need to spend more to have the basic things. There are dozens of comparative videos in the American Reality Channel. Brazil, the country of the future. We hear that phrase from our grandparents, our parents, but the future is right now, already past, and things are not getting any better. They're actually getting worse. We don't want to hear that we are the country of the future. We need a reset in Brazil for this country to become the present country. This video is to show those who don't live in Brazil what every Brazilian already knows. Help us spread this reality to the world so everyone will know what is going on in Brazil.